The life and sad ending of Ann Sheridan. Clara Lou Sheridan, known professionally as Ann Sheridan, was born on February 21, 1915 in Denton, Texas. She was the youngest of 5 children of George Sheridan and Lula Stewart. She was active in dramatics at Denton High School and at North Texas State Teachers College. She also sang with the college's state band and played basketball on the North Texas women's basketball team. In 1933, Sheridan won the prize of a bit part in a Paramount film, Search for Beauty, when her sister Kitty entered Sheridan's photograph in a beauty contest. After making Search for Beauty, Paramount put the 19-year-old on her contract as a starting salary of $75 a week, where she played mostly uncredited bit parts for the next 2 years. Along with fellow contractees, Sheridan worked with the Paramount's drama coach, Nina Mouse, and performed on the studio lot in such plays as The Milky Way and The Pursuit of Happiness. While in The Milky Way, Paramount decided to change her first name from Clara Lou to the same as her character, Anne. Sheridan was then cast in the film Behold My Wife, 1934, at the behest of director and friend Mitchell Leeson. The role provided 2 standout scenes for the actress, including one in which her character commits suicide, and she attributed it with Paramount's keeping her under contract. She continued with bit parts in Enter Madame, 1935, Home on the Range, 1935, and Roomba, 1935, until her first lead role in Car 99, 1935, with Fred MacMurray. "No acting, it was just playing the lead, that's all," she later said. She next had a supporting role as the romantic interest in Rocky Mountain Mystery, 1935, a Randolph Scott Western. She then appeared in Mississippi, 1935, with Bing Crosby and W.C. Fields, The Glass Key, 1935, with George Raft, and, with one line, The Crusaders, 1935, with Loretta Young. In her last picture under her deal with Paramount, the studio loaned her out to Poverty Row production company Talisman to make The Red Badge of Courage, 1935, with Kermit Maynard. After this, Paramount declined to renew her contract. Sheridan made Fighting Youth, 1935, at Universal, and then signed a contract with Warner Brothers in 1936. Sheridan's career prospects began to improve at her new studio. Her early films for Warner Brothers included Sing Me a Love Song, 1936, Black Legion, 1937, with Humphrey Bogart, The Great O'Malley, 1937, with Pat O'Brien and Bogart, her first real break, San Quentin, 1937, with O'Brien and Bogart, singing for the first time in a film, and Wine, Woman, and Horses, 1937, with Barton McLean. Universal borrowed her for a support role in Letter of Introduction, 1938, at the behest of director John M. Stahl. For Pharaoh, she was in A Broadway Musketeers, 1938, a remake of Three on a Match, 1932. Sheridan's notices in Letter of Introduction impressed Warner Brothers executives, and she began to get roles in better quality pictures at her own studio, starting with Angels with Dirty Faces, 1938, wherein she played James Cagney's love interest. Bogart, O'Brien, and the Dead End Kids had supporting roles. The film was a big hit and critically acclaimed. Sheridan was reunited with the Dead End Kids in They Made Me a Criminal, 1938, starring John Garfield. She was third billed in the western Dodge City, 1939, playing a saloon owner opposite Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland. The film was another success. Oomph was described as a certain indefinable something that commands male interest. In March 1939, Warner Brothers announced Sheridan had been voted by a committee of 25 men as the actress with the most oomph in America. She received as many as 250 marriage proposals from fans in a single week. Tagged the Oomph Girl, a sobriquet which she repeatedly loathed, Sheridan was a popular pinup girl in the early 1940s. Sheridan co-starred with Dick Powell in Naughty But Nice, 1939, and played a wacky heiress in Winter Carnival, 1939. She was top billed in Indianapolis Speedway, 1939, with O'Brien, and Angels Wash Their Faces, 1939, with O'Brien, and Dead End Kids, and Ronald Reagan. Castle on the Hudson, 1940, put her opposite Garfield and O'Brien. Sheridan's first real starring vehicle was It All Came True, 1940, a musical comedy co-starring Bogart and Jeffrey Lynn. She introduced the song Angel in Disguise. Sheridan and Cagney were reunited in Torrid Zone, 1940, with O'Brien in support. She was with George Raft, Bogart, and Ida Lupino in They Drive By Night, 1940, a trucking melodrama. Sheridan was back with Cagney for City for Conquest, 1941, and then made Honeymoon for Three, 1941, a comedy with George Brent. Sheridan did two lighter films, Navy Blues, 1941, a musical comedy, and The Man Who Came to Dinner, 1942, wherein she played a character modeled on Gertrude Lawrence. She then made King's Row, 1942, in which she received top billing playing opposite Ronald Reagan, Robert Cummings, and Betty Field. It was a major success and one of Sheridan's most memorable films. Sheridan and Reagan were reunited for Juke Girl, 1942. She was in the war film Wings for the Eagle, 1942, and made a comedy with Jack Benny, George Washington Slept Here, 1943. She played a Norwegian resistance fighter in Edge of Darkness, 1943, with Errol Flynn, and was one of many Warner Brothers stars who had cameos in Thank Your Lucky Stars, 1943. Leo McCarey borrowed her to support Gary Cooper in Good Sam, 1948. She was meant to star in Flamingo Road. She then left Warner Brothers. Her role in I Was a Male War Bride, 1949, directed by Howard Hawks and co-starring Cary Grant, was another success. In 1950, she appeared on the ABC musical television series Stop the Music. She made Stella, 1950, a comedy with Victor Mature at Fox. Sheridan made Woman on the Run, 1950, a noir that she also produced. She wanted to make a film called Her Secret Diary. Woman on the Run was distributed by Universal, and Sheridan signed a contract with that studio. Sheridan supported Glenn Ford in Appointment in Honduras, 1953, directed by Jacques Tourneur. She appeared opposite Steve Cochran in Come Next Spring, 1956, and was one of several stars in MGM's The Opposite Sex, 1956. Her last film, Woman and the Hunter, 1957, was shot in Africa. In 1962, she played the lead in the Western series Wagon Train episode entitled The Mavis Grant Story. In the mid-1960s, Sheridan appeared on the NBC soap opera Another World. For her contributions to the motion picture industry, Ann Sheridan has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 7024 Hollywood Boulevard. In her personal life, Sheridan married actor Edward Norris on August 16, 1936, in Ensenada, Mexico. They separated a year later and divorced in 1939. On January 5, 1942, she married fellow Warner Brothers star George Brent, who co-starred with her in Honeymoon for Three, 1941. They divorced exactly 1 year later. Following her divorce from Brent, she had a long-term relationship with publicist Steve Hennigan that lasted until his death in 1953. On June 5, 1966, she married actor Scott McKay, who was with her when she died. In 1966, Sheridan began starring in a new television series, a Western-themed comedy called Pistols and Petticoats. She became ill during the filming, and sadly, she died of esophageal cancer with massive liver metastasis at age 51 on January 21, 1967, in Los Angeles. She was cremated, and her ashes were stored at the Chapel of the Pines Crematory in Los Angeles until they were interred in a niche in the Chapel Columbarium at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in 2005.